would you say the desire to help people is really the thing that's forefront in your mind?
It's part of an instinct, I believe. So when I talk to the person and when I see something that could be changed, I don't confront the person straight away saying that, oh, you have to change your hair, or you really need to go and study art or something like that. I try to do it in a subtle way, because very often people sometimes are not ready for a change, and when they're ready it happens quick. So by this time you really need to get the information ready and kind of proper when the time comes.
So you're essentially sort of you're thinking about, you know, what you can do, or what others can do for themselves to improve themselves.
That's right. Yeah. And I do not represent one industry, because a lot of people put emphasis only on kind of like body development, or, for example, food impact on you. Or some people concentrate on work that you give. I think that it's all come in a package, because otherwise you wouldn't develop in the direction. You just kind of go sideways and still figuring out. So balance is important, and very often it's just a person of balance that gives you an idea where they can slightly go.
Actually, that's true, because we all have strengths, don't we? But we need other areas to develop as well. Absolutely, I would agree with that. Do you feel that then you're sort of helping people through role modeling behaviour, or is it more? I mean, that's quite sort of subtle in some ways, or is it more sort of overt? You know, what you're trying to do, you're sort of waiting for the right moment to kind of give them feedback.
I don't have a plan really for humanity or something like that. One person at a time is enough.
Okay.
And I think that every person is different, so very important sometimes just to be there. Sometimes it's just bouncing ideas. Person talks to you and you say, yeah, it might work for you and you need to go this way or this way. Like I talked to a boy who actually studies IT. He's going to be a programmer and he's doing very well. He's from Ukraine and he's get a government grant for it. So he's really, really brainy and clever. But he's very unhappy. Yeah, and he always talks about me about photography and modeling and other things. And I told him, why wouldn't you study it? He said, I don't have time. All my time is consumed by this preparation for exams and other things. And I always tell him that if there is a desire, there is a time. So he just downloaded a couple of lessons for Photoshop, and he always said that I don't have money to buy a camera. I said, don't buy a camera, start from the photographs on your cell phone. Do you have a cell phone? So he does. So it's just slight things, and sometimes just giving a bit of encouragement. Very often people deep inside know what they like, and just being in a safe position, talking to someone who would not judge and understand. So I'm very non-judgmental person.
That's really interesting, because, you know, essentially what I'm kind of hearing is that, you know, to sort of influence them or to influence that person, it's not about pushing or being directive. It's like a very subtle nudge, like you say, just encouragement, support, being there, creating a space. And that actually does affect someone's behaviour quite strongly, sort of almost the reverse of what we think of when we think of someone that's influencing the behaviour of others.
When I discovered that people seek my attention, I realized how harmful it could potentially be. Yes. People ask my political opinions, my views on cannabis, my views on educational system, and some other things.
Yes.
And political, of course, because Russia, Ukraine, it was a very raw topic at a certain point. And what I learned is that you have to stop influencing at a certain point. Like, I never support the talk about politics, and I'm very, very careful about opinions without actually strong study underneath. I believe that everyone has their own battles and goes through their own knowledge search. So it's important to let them do it, because the knowledge that acquired is much more valuable than the knowledge is given to you without being asked. So once a wise Chinese man told us that don't influence. And he was a very influential man. He was a person who had a lot of disciples and things like that. So to come to this statement, he obviously went through the phase where a lot of people were listening to him. So he came to this idea because he realized that everyone has their own journey and everyone has their own struggles, and sometimes time is not right in someone's life. So I believe that he is right. Certain situations, certain points of views shouldn't be influenced. Person should work hard to get this, because knowledge should be acquired and earned rather than delivered to you. And in this case, it will be treasured. It will be your own opinion and things like that.
So you're sort of recognizing, I think that's really insightful, of you, that you're actually recognizing having sort of a level of responsibility, with influence, and understanding sort of which areas that you've chosen not to influence, not to have an impact. So that would be sort of around sort of politics, I guess, would be one area for you, and then maybe some others. I think that's really insightful.
It's a bit of a dilemma in me, because sometimes I feel strong about certain points, and very often I choose not to expand on my views in front of other people. I think it's healthy simply because recognizing that everyone has their own views. These views probably came from some experiences and other things, and it's important to let people have their own space, and not sort of make sure that everyone knows what you know and knows what you think of certain things.
Well, I think that's interesting as well, because it's, that idea of influence, it's not about walking around telling everybody what, your agenda, what you think is right, what your opinion is, and this idea that you want others to share that, because that's not influence, that's not sort of power and sort of having presence and influence, really. It's more about their journey, and exactly what you were saying about focusing on that individual and what's right for them at this time, and what do they need influencing around, where do they need growth, and where do they actually need to just acquire that knowledge on their own.
That's very true. There is a big difference between dictatorship and influence, because influence is very subtle. Very often it's just little things and little gestures and little acts. And a small act of kindness makes much more impact than a huge speech in front of 1,000 people with the slogans and other things. So I believe that being genuine to yourself and being the best yourself can influence more people. Yes.
So when you talk a little bit about being genuine to yourself, what do you mean by that?
A lot of people have personal troubles about who they are. We change through the life. At certain point we are just children of someone. At certain points we are pupils. At certain points we are teachers. At certain points we are mothers, grandmothers. At certain points we take, and at certain points we give. So being true to yourself, of what you are at this particular moment and what you will be soon is very important. Finding a center, finding your own strengths, and understanding your own mistakes and weaknesses also means part of being true.
So really being, understanding yourself, but really being confident in yourself, being happy about where you're at and your journey. Is that?
Absolutely, and also seeing the perspective. Thinking of where can I go with my strengths and weaknesses, which area I can be the best, which area am I not very good, which area I need help, and for a lot of people it's hard to admit.
Yes.